What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of The Opinion. And I'm here to make a response video, somewhat of a response video to the Uncle Lou to get the facts right. So although this show is called The Opinion, today I'm fixing to drop quite a bit of facts to disprove Uncle Lou's point about Oklahoma not only going 7-5, and if that's his opinion, that is completely fine. Just have the right facts and the correct facts to back things up. Don't just look at things on paper, because I can prove to you that Uncle Lou didn't watch Oklahoma play, and I can prove to you that he's just looking at stats on paper. And for one, he can't even pronounce Danny Stutzman's name correctly. He called him Struckman. And so already off the top, it's kind of hard for me to take the guy serious when it comes to a football analysis and a football breakdown when you can't even pronounce players' names correctly. And I can understand if the name is a difficult name to pronounce. Some people have names like that, but Stutzman is not one of those. So I'm going to get into it here, and I'm going to break down some of the things that were said in the comments after Uncle Lou made a prediction video that he does every year on every team. He predicts their record based on the schedule that is in front of us. Kind of a fun series to watch as well. But I think when it came to the Oklahoma Sooners, I think that he had lazy research and lazy analysis to come up with the prediction that he did, because a lot of what he does, he bases a lot off of last year and tries to project forward going into this year. So let's look at the very first comment that the Uncle Lou made. So if you look at the comment that's on the screen right now, because Uncle Lou said that he does believe Oklahoma will have a good front seven, but he questions the back end. And me, having watched all of Oklahoma's games last year, I know that Oklahoma had, a lot of interceptions. Pass defense greatly improved from 2022 to 2023. And I left this comment on his channel and said, hey, you're basically questioning Oklahoma's back end. But at the same time, Oklahoma was second in the country in interceptions last year, and so forth and so on. You guys can read it. And then he responds and says, man, y'all were the 100th best in pass defense. I swear you all are blind when it comes to your defense. So I think you're just looking at things on paper. And if you really watched OU's games, I can prove to you that 100th best in pass defense is a mirage. And I'm fixing to pull the actual stats, because we're going to go to the facts. That's something that Uncle Lou cannot dispute, that Oklahoma's defense, that 100th best in pass defense, that's only based off of how many yards you give up a game. First of all, if we dig into that, there's a lot of Big Ten teams that don't face passing teams. So automatically by default, they're going to give up less yards per game because they don't face passing teams. It doesn't mean that their pass defense is great. There's teams that play against them they're just not passing the ball because they're up in the north. Those teams that play in the MAC, the Big Ten, and those up north teams, they traditionally do not face passing style attacks as well. So that's one reason why Oklahoma would be rated lower than those teams. But let's dig into the facts here as well. So the first one that I want to put up on the screen is defensive passing attempts. So this stat right here marks how many times was your defense in the regular season. This is only counting last year's regular season. How many times was your defense passed against? And as you see, Oklahoma is the number 11th team. They had 436 passes passed against them last year. So basically the 11th most passes Oklahoma's defense had to face last year. That is the first stat. Now, let me throw up another stat on the screen. Now, what did Oklahoma hold opposing QBs percentage-wise in terms of completions? Now, think about it. They are the 11th most, how can you say this? Oklahoma's defense had to defend the 11th most passes, the 11th most pass attempts last season. And let's look at the opposing team's defensive, or no, let me reverse that. Let's look at how Oklahoma did when it came to opposing quarterbacks in all 12 of their games combined completion percentage. So as you see, Oklahoma 56.2%, which is pretty good. Holding opposing QBs to an average of 56.2%, one spot behind Georgia, the number 14 team in the country, in terms of holding their opponents to a less than 60% completion percentage. One spot behind Georgia, one spot behind your favorite team, Uncle Lou. So I know you think your team's pretty good. So, and Oklahoma was 0.2 percentage spots behind Georgia in holding the opposing quarterbacks combined to 56.2%, number 14 in the country, 14th best from a fast passing defense perspective. Now let's go on to the next stat. What did opposing quarterbacks in terms of passer rating? Now we know in college football, if you a good quarterback is going to be like in the 150s, 160s from a passer rating standpoint. So what did Oklahoma hold its opponents to when it came to passer rating? Are you guys ready to see this? So Oklahoma was number, I believe that's number 11. So number 11, number 10 or number 11. So Oklahoma, opposing quarterbacks had a 115.6 passer rating versus the Oklahoma Sooners, which is pretty good. So imagine, think about this. If your quarterback if the quarterback for your starting team played an entire season and his passer rating was 115.6, he had a bad year. So once again, Oklahoma is rated up in the top echelon in terms of holding quarterbacks to a 115.6 passer rating, top 15 in the country as well. And then let's look at the last stat. How many interceptions did Oklahoma's pass defense get? 19. So Oklahoma's pass defense, as you see there on the screen, they had 19 interceptions, but they only gave up 16 touchdowns through the air. So they had more interceptions than they had touchdowns through the air. These are all facts. It's right here. You can find them on ESPN. In fact, I'll post the link down below. That way you guys can go through it. You can go through each category and sort it the way that it's lined up from either least to from best to worst or worst to best. And Oklahoma and all of those categories, all of the important categories when it's defined as true passing defense, Oklahoma was in the top 15 among all of the important categories. So Uncle Lou, I think you're the one that's blind. I think you're the one who really didn't watch the games. You just looked at, you just opened up a book and said, oh, Oklahoma was number 100th in the country. Well, one, of course, Oklahoma's going to give up passing yards. They faced the 11th most pass attempts in the country last season, in the regular season, the 11th most pass attempts. But at the same time that they faced the 11th most pass attempts, they were 14th best in the country in holding opposing QBs to an average of 56% completion percentage, 14th best in the country, holding opposing quarterbacks to an average of 115 on their passer rating. Well, like I said, which is if your quarterback, if you like any of your teams out there, if your quarterback has 115 passer rating for the entire season, he had a horrible year. So Oklahoma was keeping quarterbacks in check. And then when you look at the interceptions, second in the country, 19 interceptions, and they gave up less touchdown passes through the air than they had interceptions. And by the way, another stat, out of the 12 games Oklahoma played, only 3 teams passed for over 300 yards on them. Texas, Oklahoma State, and TCU. And the TCU, they only passed for 300 yards because Oklahoma was already up 42-13, and TCU pretty much got garbage touchdowns and garbage yards at the end of the game when we knew the game was over, by the way. So Uncle Lou, I think I'm going to need you to dig in and actually watch games this season. How about that? So next year, whenever you start making these predictions, you can actually turn back towards games and actually say, hey, I remember I seen this in the game, and I remember I saw that in the game. And by the way, yes, Oklahoma fans are correct. It was the Oklahoma offense that let Oklahoma down, not the defense. And you can see it right here in these passing stats. And we know Oklahoma's rush defense was even better than their pass defense as well. So, like I said, go watch the games, Uncle Lou. And then once you actually watch the games, I think that if you see the same thing that I'm seeing, you will agree with me. So, hey, everybody, leave your comments down below. Do you think Uncle Lou's video prediction was way outlandish? Do you think his reporting was lazy? What do you think about these stats? Nobody's probably ever shown you these stats. And so now if they do, you can send them to this video right here. But other than that, leave your comments, like, subscribe, and I'm out.